order. This is the organizational meeting and regular meeting of the Board of Finance here at the Town Hall, 75 Main Street, Council Chambers, 7 p.m., November 15th, 2023. Mr. Bowes, would you please call the roll?
Kevin Bodwin.
Here.
Joel Lebenek.
Here.
Candace Mazzarella.
Here.
Ed Pocock, 2.
Here.
Wayne Sanforth.
Here.
John Larry.
Here.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Larry, would you start us off? Flag of the United States Republic for which it stands. We have no public hearing items. Would I ask all 6 members of the Board of Finance to please rise? On behalf of the citizens of the town of Southington, congratulations. Looking forward to working as this board for the next 2 years, doing excellent work as you had for the past. Would you please raise your right hands for me, please? Do you solemnly swear to be true and faithful to the Constitution and governments of the state of Connecticut and the United States of America, and that you will faithfully discharge, according to law, your duties of members of the Board of Finance for the town of Southington to the best of your ability, so help you God?
I do.
Congratulations. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The next order of business is election of the officers. I'm looking for a motion for the chair of the Board of Finance.
I'd like to make a motion to nominate John Leary, Chairman of the Board of Finance.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Any other nominations? Any other nominations? Any other nominations? Nominations are closed. Mr. Bowes, call the roll.
Mr. Bodwin.
Yes.
Mr. Lebenek.
Yes.
Ms. Mazzarella.
Yes.
Mr. Pocock.
Yes.
Mr. Stanforth.
Yes.
Mr. Leary.
Yes.
Chairman Leary, I hand the meeting over to you.
Thank you. We now have the swearing in of a vice chair. Do we have a nomination for vice chair?
Make a motion to appoint Joseph Labeniak as vice chair.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other names being brought forward? Hearing no other names being brought forward, can we call the roll, please?
Mr. Bodwin.
Yes.
Mr. Lebenek.
Yes.
Ms. Mazzarella.
Yes.
Mr. Pocock.
Yes.
Mr. Stanforth.
Yes.
Chair Larry.
Yes.
Unanimous.
Okay.
Unanimous.
Thank you. We have a vice chair. And lastly, we have a secretary. So do we have a motion for secretary?
Make a motion to nominate Ed Pocock as secretary.
And I'll second that.
Motion and a second. Any other nominations for secretary? Let's call the roll, please.
Mr. Bodwin.
Yes.
Mr. Lebenek.
Yes.
Ms. Mazzarella.
Yes.
Mr. Pocock.
Yes.
Mr. Stanforth.
Yes.
Chair Larry.
Yes. Okay, we have our leadership roles in place, and just before we move forward, a couple of words. Number one, as always, we thank the voters for bringing all of us, all 6 of us here, and placing your confidence in us to look after the finances as prescribed in the charter. A couple key roles that we do: we make a recommendation of a budget to town council. We also recommend to town council certain finance matters. In fact, everything we do at our meeting is in a way a recommendation to town council, because they then have to approve our minutes as a recommendation to them. And couple things we do exclusively: we pick the auditors and we set the mill rate, exclusive. And once we do that, it can't be changed. So those are things that are exclusive to us. The rest we're recommending to town council. So we thank the voters again for placing their confidence in us to look after the financials while they go about their business. And we remind everybody of the public, you're welcome to come here, be part of our public comments, engage with us before or after the meeting, communicate with us, and work along with us as we do our job. The next thing is just a reminder that, I think we all realize we're elected by the people who voted for us, but we really are put into this role to work for all people. Even the people who didn't particularly vote for us specifically, we have to be cognizant of that and remember that we do represent and work for all people, and we work for the common good. and we're going to listen, engage, and we're all going to work hard. And on this board, we're all going to work together, to the absolute extent we can. We are all going to work together for the town. We want to welcome our new members. We want to welcome Candace Mazzarella, elected this first time here on our board, and we welcome her to the board. And then we welcome back Wayne Stanforth, who was on the board back in, 07, 09, few terms on the board. We welcome Wayne back.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
And, of course, they're not here with us, but we thank Tony Morrison, who's now on town council, for his service on our board, and we thank Sue Zoney for her terms on our board as well. So that's just the opening remarks, and just a big welcome to everybody, and always a thank you to town staff and town leadership who really support us and kind of tee everything up for us to do. So now that we've done with that, we have to approve our minutes from the last meeting, and that can only be done by the people who were at the last meeting.
Mr. Chair, if I may?
Yeah.
Do you want to do your subcommittee assignments tonight, or?
No, we can't, because town council still has to define those committees. Right? That has not been done?
Well, you have liaisons and things like that.
Yeah.
That has nothing to do with the town council. I just wanted
Right,
to join those.
we'll hold them all till.
All to the end,
Because
okay.
what I'm going to do is ask all the members which ones they'd like to be on.
Right.
I did speak with Chairman Chaplinsky, who's here with us tonight,
Mm-hmm.
and he said he would get us the list and also tell us whether he wants one representative or one from each party,
Mm-hmm.
or how it works, and then we'll respond. I'll send it out to everybody here. You can tell me what you're interested in. I guess I get to pick that too, and then send back to him our recommendations of what
Yeah, my
committee.
recommendation was investments.
Yeah, we can do.
Those are yours, you can do those in December.
I still we could talk about them tonight,
Yep.
but I still think we'll do them next meeting, because
Okay.
people may want to change. So we can talk about what they are. The people who are on them can talk about them, and then we'll put them open. Maybe the same people will take them, but we'll let people express their interest.
We'll put those back on in December then.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we'll do that. So, yeah, subcommittees we'll pass over. Now, we do want to have a discussion. We'll go back to item 4 of organizational business. We do want to have a discussion on the meeting agenda and format, but I would like to do it in a workshop, in a more casual setting, where a workshop for us, for those who haven't been here in a long time and those who are new. A workshop is still a public meeting. It's open to the public, but it's not televised. It doesn't have a stenographer. It's more of an informal setting where we sit around a table, and what I want to do is take up the agenda and look at the agenda items. Right now, you have it in front of you. You see how it was rebuilt years back. It got a facelift. But if there's things we want to put on there, standing items on the agenda, we could do it through discussion at a workshop. At that same workshop, I also want to have two people I consider experts come in and talk about something called Talking the Talk, Understanding Special Ed Terminology. What I want to do is have a little briefing, because this board, the folks who find their way to this board, typically from a business community, not necessarily from a educational background, not necessarily sensitized to the vocabulary and the vernacular of special ed. So we want to have a little briefing on the people first language and some of the wording we may encounter or even use in our conversations going forward on the board. So we're going to have a workshop, if all are in favor, a workshop, break open the agenda. Anybody who wants to move things around, put something else we should be looking at on the standing agenda, look at that. We can do it in that workshop, and also have a briefing at the beginning of that workshop on talking the talk, understanding special ed terminology, and terminology or surrounding disabilities, too, if everybody's okay with that, if there's any objection. And what I'll do is I'll send out an email to the group, and we don't need to have, if you don't want to take it, you're welcome. I'll put you on as optional. Welcome to come, but not needed, and we'll meet here as a group, just to go over the agenda. But
If
I
you'd
want to
like,
tie up
I
another
can,
night on you.
yeah, we can send out information through my office to the six of you to just throw some dates at me.
Okay.
You don't want to do it at a regular meeting, correct?
No.
It's a little bit too congested, I think, sometimes.
Yeah, it's just, sometimes it's more set for a workshop setting.
What's the availability of the people that are coming? We'll work.
Well,
around
we'll have to
them.
work with them
Yeah,
too.
they're the ones who we're going to have to
Yeah,
take
we'll
the
work,
time.
they'll come
Okay.
for the first half hour, then we'll get into, they'll leave, and then we'll get into our agenda.
All right.
If that makes sense to everybody here, there's no,
Okay.
because I think we've all, I think we could all benefit from some workshops. And then maybe, I won't foreshadow the future, but we could certainly, take up a workshop and either we could look at our financial policies in regular session, or if need be, go to a workshop. But there's different settings for different things. So thank you for that, and I will get out, I want to do it before our next meeting, so I'll get out some dates. Does anybody have an objection to a certain night of the week? Like, for example, I do Boy Scouts on Monday. Monday is very difficult for me. I can do it if I have to, but I prefer not to. Does anybody have a day restriction before I propose dates? Okay, so I'll stay away from Mondays, and we'll propose a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, a couple options, and
I would just recommend Wednesday.
Okay.
Days, it seems to be available.
I'll start with Wednesdays. Okay. We will do that. And I think that'll help us. And in the meantime, take a look at the agenda. Think about what you'd want to look at, what you'd want on the agenda if you were providing governance to a town, what should be on the agenda, and we'll bring that to discussion. Okay, now as far as the old business, back to that. We could only have people vote on those things who were at the meetings, so we've got two members who can't, so it has to rely on the 4 members who were here. So I seek a motion to approve the minutes of the October 11th meeting.
So
I'll make a
moved.
motion to approve that, or second it.
Okay, motion from Mr. Pocock, seconded by Mr. Bedoin. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those who abstain?
Abstain.
Abstain.
Okay, so it carries four with 2 abstentions.
4-0.
4 in favor, 2 abstentions. And we'll do the same for the executive session. We had an executive session to discuss legal matters, and that happened at the same time, October 11th. There's no minutes from those meetings, there's just an announcement of that the meeting occurred, who was in it, when it was. That's what we have to disclose, and we did that. So can we get an approval for the executive session as it's reflected in the packet?
So moved.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Pocock, seconded by Mr. Lebenik. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Abstain?
Abstain.
All right, four in favor, 2 abstentions. So the minutes are now official minutes, and for those of you who weren't here before, our motion makes the minutes official. They're all typed up, they're out there, but they don't really become official until we have a chance to review them and approve them. So now we'll do the financial assessment of the town. We'll take a look at revenues versus budget. So in the packet, past the minutes here, I think we're $1,148,000, so 1,148 above in revenue. And I think that's pretty good, given that in our budget, we increased the revenue in our budget this year. First time we ever did that I could recall. But,
Just for the record, Mr. Chairman, this is just the items that we consider significant, the significant revenue
yep,
drivers.
significant. So we see prior year taxes are up about 170,000. Interest on the taxes up 89,000. Building permits and fees up 155,000. Interest income, thank our little investment committee, up 690,000, above budget. And then town clerk fees, the busy office that is, up 45,000 over budget. So that's very, very positive for us, especially in a year that set out to be very challenging for us.
Mr. Chairman, if I may,
Yes.
through you, Mr. Bose? Just a 1 or 2 person thing, or is that a lot of things make up that number?
That's the whole allotment. We collect usually about 98 3/4 to 99% of our taxes in the current year, and this has been pretty much the way things have gone for at least the last decade or so. But that extra 1.5% or so that's not collected, plus, in years past, by state statute, we're allowed to go back 15 years. So that's everything that's owed to the town, not of the current mill rate, not of the current grand list date of 10/1/22, but prior to that.
So that was
so-
one person coming in paying
we-
15
That's
years of
correct.
taxes.
We
That's
haven't, we did not do a tax sale this cycle.
Yeah.
That's scheduled for next cycle.
That was last
So
year.
this
Yeah,
is a
last
normal-
year and
This is
next
the normal, yes.
So and if we collect it now, we might not get it next quarter because we got it this
That's
quarter too.
absolutely correct.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any more questions on revenue? Okay, Mr. Bose, could you just give us a rundown on expenses? So what are we now? We're July, August, September, October,
Yep.
about 4 months in?
4 months in, and there's usually a couple week lag in between the time when we get bills in and actually pay them. But through the month ending 10/31/2023, there was nothing significantly that I would say causing a significant variance at this point in time.
So the budget's holding there.
Correct.
So
I-
net, we're ahead of the game, $1 million.
There's items that I pay special attention to, especially the overtime accounts in our public service and our public works. Right now, it doesn't look like those are too much off kilter. But when and there may come a time when they do, and then that will be a report. It'll be a one-sheeter included in your board packet.
Okay.
And Mr. Chairman, again, if I may.
Oh, please.
Information technology, I noticed they were, a big percentage of their budget spent already.
Most of their budget is either spent or encumbered, quite a bit of it, because we have, on July 1, we have a lot of our maintenance contracts that go into effect, a lot of our, that go into effect, and the purchasing of any goods that go to many of the departments through the IT department. So that, he hits that pretty quickly in the fiscal year.
So it's by plan almost then? Yeah.
Correct.
Thank you.
Next item coming down, if there's no further questions on revenue or expenses. Going down is our contingency, and just a reminder to our audience and our,
Chair, so-
what?
Do you mind if I ask one
Oh,
question?
please.
Just going back to the revenue one more time. So on the interest income, we're 689 over through October, correct?
Correct.
Do we have a projection of where we'll end for the year?
I didn't make a projection yet, no. This is actual, what we projected through October versus what actually happened. Don't forget, when we were doing the budget, rates were somewhere around the 3.25%.
Sure.
Going up as we were sort of at the tail end of our budget cycle, and we're in the area of 5.25
We
right now.
straight line, do we just do, is it, because it was 1.2 for the year, was that our budget?
1.2 million was the authorized budget.
So we do,
correct.
is it 100 a year, or 100 a month?
No, I don't budget it that way. I
You don't?
budget it based upon what we've got in past years.
Okay.
We tend to get more in the early part of the fiscal year because the July tax period and the January tax period cause us to have a nicer cash flow.
Okay.
Obviously,
Okay.
and more investable cash. That sort of wanes as you get towards December. Not you, Wayne, but, wanes as you get to December. And then picks up towards the end of January and starts to wane until you get to May, when we get the last half of what we call the ECS grant, which is $21 million in total. The state parcels that out, a quarter in October, a quarter in January, and then the half of it, so $10 million plus, comes in late May, which is nice because that kind of carries us
Sure.
through sort of a cash week period, like in June.
Revenues dictate investment.
Understood.
Don't
Understood,
forget
yeah.
that, if we go back in the history of all this, it was Kevin and Wayne, in a way,
Kevin and who?
you, back when we
No, I think-
had the cash. So
Take the credit, Wayne.
take the credit, Wayne.
You're offered the credit.
I remember that,
Yeah, you guys would remember that a long time ago, we did not have a balanced budget, right? We would draw from our reserves to balance our budget because revenues didn't equal our expenses, and we were not where we needed to be with a rainy day fund. We were below. We were aspirational. We said someday we'll get there, but we didn't really have a fully funded rainy day fund. and I think the number was 7%, and we were not at 7%. Then we achieved the 7%, then we exceeded the 7%, then we raised the 7% incrementally to 11%. We did a lot. We achieved the 11%. Now we have 7 or 8 million above the 11%. So once Wayne and Kevin noticed that we had all this cash, they said, what are we doing with it? And back then, we started this whole idea of a treasurer, monitoring cash flows, the sources and the uses and the timing of cash, when we collect it in January and July, and how we collect it versus how we spend it, what we're going to do with the excess. And we started this investment committee, and the investment committee researched investments and invested. And, you know, you look back at it, and here the tree grew and is bearing fruit. So that's kind of the history. And it's a great place to be for Southington, for all of us who were involved.
We have a fantastic treasurer, Ann Annup. She's great. She's been with us. She was actually with us a few years back in another capacity. Left, went to another community for a couple of years, and when the treasurer retired, Ann came back as the treasurer/treasury accountant is the official job title.
But we could see here that
She's fantastic.
the whole idea behind investing our excess cash pays for the treasurer tenfold.
We squeeze things pretty hard too. She and I together make a pretty good and a pretty cheap skate when it comes to letting the cash out the door.
Would it be reasonable to have a thought on where we think we'll end for the year?
I
For
can
next
do that.
meeting?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
absolutely.
right, thank you.
The only thing I would caution you is that if you read, interest rates are going to be going the other way.
Understood.
Going down. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, so I would caution that anything he does is with a big asterisk. Okay.
Agreed,
Good.
agreed.
I don't want him to think this is all the extra money we're going to have in June, so let's start hitting it now. Nobody should think that.
Understood.
Okay.
I assumed you'd provide a range. Okay.
And
Next item here is the contingency. Just a reminder, the contingency is in the budget. It's an expense, but at the time of the budget, the expense is unknown. So we call it the unknown item or the contingency. We don't know what we're going to use it for, but we know that something throughout the year that we did not plan for is going to come knocking on our financial door. So we have an undefined item in our budget called the contingency. We'd like to have a bigger number for contingency, but this year we had 600,000 in there. Generally, what takes it from us is a storm or extra weather events will take it. Legal events will take it. And occasionally, if we have retirements more than we planned for. Those are the three things I've seen come and eat up the contingency. But right now, so far, we're okay. We're at 600 when we start this meeting. Before we end this meeting, we're going to likely vote on taking 70,000 from contingency to legal services. That'll come up later, leaving us with 530 in contingency, which I think is okay, is decent so far. Any questions on that?
In the past.
Just for informational purposes, contingency, we use contingency usually up until April 1st. The charter allows us after April 1st to use other line items for other things. Through April 1st, every department must use their own budget for transfers and things like that, or it's got to go out of contingency. After April 1st, the charter then allows this board to recommend to the town, me to recommend to this board, then this board to recommend to town council, that we use other line items that have nothing to do with that department, put money into that department. But that can't happen until April 1st.
Okay. And now we'll go to the self-insurance summary, because it's in here. We'll
Yes.
start with what we got. No capital project summary until at this meeting. Review other funds. There are no other funds to look at. Our subcommittees, should I just assume they've not met?
No.
No, there was no,
There was.
We haven't met.
well, self-insurance is the only one that met.
Yeah, let's just take
That
up,
was the end of October.
we'll just take up self-insurance.
Mr. Chairman, I leave all these in place just
Yeah,
as a
yeah,
reminder
yeah.
for me to make sure that, they're going to be on the agenda.
Yeah, we don't want
That's
an
all.
omission, so.
Exactly.
But now we know, we haven't really assigned anybody to
Sure.
them. We had a report at the last Board of Finance prior to the election, and we'll go back as soon as the town council sets up these committees and staffs them, we can get a report on them.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, we do, self-insurance kind of transcends all these, it has to happen. So Anything, Mr.?
So for self-insurance, we have
Lubenick?
data through October, which is 4 months of claims from July. And as of year-to-date for those 4 months, our claims are under budget by $277,000, which is a good sign. So,
Okay.
And one last thing that you should know, did vote on the
Oh, yes, at the last meeting of the Self-Insurance
For the
Committee.
budget.
Yes, and it's in their minutes. That file with the town clerk. Every year, there's a split between the school board and the general government for their share of the self-insurance costs that are upcoming, which will be a 24-25 fiscal year. We should be getting the projection from the initial projection from Anthem, hopefully within a week or two. Probably a couple of weeks, actually. But the funding split was voted on to remain the same as the current fiscal year, 74% for the schools operations and 26% for the general government. That's based upon 3 indices that our insurance consultant from Lindbergh and Ripple, a fellow by the name of Joe Spurgeon, who's some of you guys who are on the self-insurance committee know Joe pretty well. He does these calculations, bring them to the committee to see if there's any major shifting going on. And it seems like this year it's pretty much the same. I mean, for the upcoming year, it looks like the indices are the same as they are for the current year.
Okay.
So it looks like it's still. So we voted as a committee to retain the percentage split as 74-26 for the upcoming 24-25 renewal.
excuse me.
What issues are considered in the split?
There's yeah, exactly, Wayne. There's contract counts, there's actual costs, and then there's what they call projections going forward as far as some of the what they call future. I forgot the exact terminology he
Do
uses.
they go down to the actual number of?
Not for that, but in a summary, yes, but not down to detail. It basically goes by number of employees, number of contracts, and actual costs and projected costs going forward.
Which would be based on the actual costs. Which
Correct.
is based on.
But it always lags by about that, and the year might not be the exact July 1 to June 30th because it's always sort of on a rolling 12-month basis.
It shouldn't change the percent.
But the numbers looked relatively consistent to the current year, 23-24, so the committee voted to keep it the same.
Thank you.
Any more questions on self-insurance? Okay, we will name people to our investment. We have to decide whether we want to have a fire commission liaison position, if we think we want to, or if we think we want to have a liaison position of the Board of Finance to any town function in addition to what the town council has. We have to take that up too. Maybe when we have our workshop on the agenda, we can say, hey, we'd like to have somebody liaise to the police department or wherever an area is that we think may have funding issues or something we have to look at a little closer. That means that we'll call the head of that function and tell them Board of Finance members are going to be coming and meeting with them, working with them. We did that with the fire department where Mr. Lubenick and Mr. Pocock attended as much as they could on fire department meetings and chatted with the chief and kind of brought back the goings-on of the fire department back to these meetings like a liaison. And we could do that other places. Doesn't have to mean you attend every meeting. It's not that formal. It's more informal. But let's leave that. The investment committee is just a committee that looks at the investments we make and the interest income we get and make sure that we're investing our cash wisely. So we'll take those up when we talk about the agenda, and we'll take up the appointments of people to the town council subcommittees once we know what those committees exactly are. I guess we could assume there'll be a sewer, a public works, an open space, a self-insurance, and economic strike, right? Mr. Chaplinsky, pretty much assume those exist and maybe another 1 or 2 or whatever the council has in mind. I say that because Mr. Chaplinsky's out here. You can see him nod.
Putting them to work.
What? I put him
Putting them to work.
That's pretty weird.
So let's get on with, this is a point of the meeting I really would like to enhance. This section's called public communications with the exclusion of any item we've already heard about in the public hearing. We don't want to hear about it twice. Since we didn't have a public hearing item, this is public communications. One of the problems we've been having is we don't have a lot of people from the public communicating. They're not coming to the meeting, they're not coming up to the podium, and they're not addressing an issue. But a lot of them do watch us. They stream us on video, and they'll say, hey, I saw your meeting, or I like this or that. You'll see people come up to you and say that. But we do want to encourage people to come to our meetings, to speak up, to get engaged, and then we could even broach the idea. We've always, the protocol, I don't know why exactly, but it's always been that people would come up and speak. We would limit them to 3 to 5 minutes at the accordance with the chair. We'd give them 3 to 5 minutes. We'd listen to anything they had to say, and we would not respond. We would just listen, take it in, and that's pretty much how it's done. But, to encourage some communication, we could do, as long as we control it, we could do a little back and forth. If somebody had a question, I don't want to argue with anybody, that would be horrible. But if somebody came up and they had a question, right, and we wanted to give an answer or engage in a little bit of respectful dialogue, we could open to that. I just want to do anything I can to encourage people to feel welcome to come here and participate. If that means being quiet and listen, we'll do that. If that means a little bit of engagement, we could allow for that. But we really want to have the community come to that podium and use it. So just an invitation out there.
Maybe a suggestion that in case people don't have time to come here, maybe they could just even write you an email or something to bring it up at a meeting sometime. Hard. People are busy today.
Yeah.
Maybe just a quick email or something that we can bring up.
From the town's website, you can email the board as a whole or individual board members.
We'll check it to make sure that's working. BO or Board of Finance members at southington.org. I'll find out what it is exactly. We will make it known to people. That's a good thing. Then we'll all have the question, and maybe our secretary or a newly appointed secretary could read those questions if we get any, and then we'll answer them as if the person were standing in front of us.
Yeah, I like
We could do that. Or at least we'll read them. If we answer them, we answer them. If we don't, we don't. But at least we'll hear them, and we'll know that somebody's listening. Okay, now the area here, board communications, is where we bring up stuff for each other. So some member may say, hey, I went to a meeting, I want to bring this forward, or I noticed this or that. Or they want to, talk to me about maybe putting something on the agenda or considering something. So this section 2 is board communications. That's member to member. So just keep that in mind. If there's something as we move forward, probably nothing tonight, we'll have it, but yeah.
Or if someone attends something, a town function or something, and wants to give a little 2-minute
Yeah.
skinny on it.
We'll all run into something we've observed, something we want to say to the town manager, finance director. We'll try and utilize that too as a platform to bring things forward. Okay, so hearing no public communicate.
I do have a question.
Yeah.
Maybe people out here want to hear it. Mark, the leave pickup, because the leaves haven't really have fallen for the first round and even the second round. There's going to be like a second round for the second rounders.
For the last, I would say 5 years, I've operated the same way. And if Annette was here, she'd say, "Don't say it," but I'm going to say it.
I know.
That we do the 5 weeks. That we all know we're doing the 5 weeks. After the 5 weeks, which is the four sections plus section 1, the second time, which would be the last week of November. That's our 5th week. As long as the weather holds out, like the last 2 or 3 years, have been very, very lucky. The paid crews, the third-party paid crews, we dismiss after 5 weeks. Then our own crews continue. And last year, I know we did Zone 1 twice, Zone 2 twice, if not 3 times. So we actually hit the town at least twice every zone. So I anticipate doing that again, but with the proviso that as long as the weather holds out, as of today, I just checked the next 2 weeks, and things look very good. So I'm pretty comfortable in saying that if you're in Zone 2, you're probably going to get another pickup, and probably also in Zones 3 and 4.
No promises.
No
and you don't want
promises,
any
no
phone
delivery.
calls.
And like I said, I'm sure my phone, the Public Works Director is probably texting me as we speak, but in reality, that's how it works.
Right.
The weather is the only element that's going to change that for us, but we do have our own crews that we're going to have, and we go from there. So, and then if someone called me, I would have told them the same thing on the phone. So
Yep,
I'll tell you the
thanks.
same thing.
Okay, so that was board communications. Now we'll get into the agenda. What we like to do here makes
Mr.
it
Chairman,
easier.
excuse me, did you call for anyone to speak under public communications?
I did. Anybody
Oh,
from
I'm
the public want to speak?
Again?
I'm sorry, I
Oh.
must have missed that. I apologize.
I did too, Mr.
Anybody? That's what happens. We're intimidating up here. But we do welcome. We'll even bring donuts if it helps.
Oh, wow.
Anything. We'll get the public here. Pizza, donuts.
I'll do pizzas.
There we go. You love
Since when?
pizzas.
Since when?
I'll do
He turned over a new leaf.
He turned over
please.
last year. He turned over a new
Turned
leaf.
over a new
Now he'll
leaf.
get us
If you're
pizza.
gonna,
Lambs?
I got his credit card.
Clam pizza.
Lamb pizza.
Anyway.
Okay, so the administrative business, what we'll do, all of these things on this consent agenda are money the town received. The money's already here, and all we're doing is giving it back to that department and that line item so they can go ahead and spend it. An example, give one. An example in here is the police department. Somebody gave them some money for K-9 program expenses. We already have the money. All we're going to do is give it to the police department on the line called K-9 program expenses so they could spend it on the dogs. So the consent agenda, we like to take it all at once. I'll read it quickly. We'll make a motion on it. We'll just approve it all at once. This is money, again, money the town received, and all we are doing is putting it on the line item and giving the approval for the department where it's intended to go ahead and spend it. It's all, the money is already in the bank. So we have 8 items. I'll read them quickly. First one is an appropriation from 2022-23, $3,154 special revenue fund for youth services DCF supplies grant. Next one is in 3 parts, 3-part appropriation, $6 for veterans program services, $23 for animal control program services, and $8 for youth services and steps. The number 3, $15 for veterans program services, $34 for animal control program services, and $7 for youth services and steps. Number 4, $5,725 for recreational holiday program services. Number 5, $10 for the police, for somebody made a donations. Number 6, $7,142 for youth services from an STR grant. The next one is number 7, $535, special revenue fund police for K-9 program expenses. And the last one is an even $1,000 for the turf fund contracted services. This is, again, money received. Do we have a motion to approve it as it appears in the
Yeah, I'll make
agenda?
a motion
Second.
to,
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries 6-0. The consent agenda is approved. We have 5 pieces of administrative business. The first one is $52,875 for capital projects fund for townwide vehicles.
I'll make a motion to approve that, the
Second.
capital project.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Let me get down to, is this ARPA?
No, it's got to start next
No.
to it. Is this?
No, it's a different state grant.
This is the
Grant.
bus,
Oh, the bus,
this
the
is
bus.
Dollar Ride bus grant, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, so that's why it's out of the first,
Yeah,
That's
that's why
a-
it's not in the first part because.
because Ed drives the bus.
Ed drives the bus.
Just for everyone who's there's certain items that could be in the consent agenda, but we take them out because Mr. Polkock has to abstain because he drives the bus. Occasionally.
Occasionally.
And he doesn't want to abstain on the whole consent agenda. Yeah.
So really, all of this stuff is that. So because they're consent agenda related, let me take them all together. We'll put them together and we'll vote on them. So the first one, appropriation $52,875, capital project fund, townwide vehicles for the grant for the bus.
Just stop right there.
Yeah.
Okay. The next 2 are different, so that you could vote on that one
Okay,
with that abstain.
We have a motion. and a second.
we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Number 1 carries 6-0.
No,
One abstention.
one abstention.
Or 1 abstention. 5-0-1.
You didn't
Yep.
call for abstain, but Ed Pocock
Ed
abstained.
abstained.
Abstain.
The other one, the next
E2.
one is the department transfer, so that's a different one.
Okay, department transfers, 16,000. General fund, building department overtime, and $652, general fund, building department vehicle maintenance.
I'll make a motion to approve those two transfers.
I'll second it. Oh,
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Abstain? Number 3, appropriation $54,699, special revenue fund, calendar house dial-a-ride lines. We have a motion.
This is another state grant,
Yep.
which of course, Mr. Polcock.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve, Mr. Stanforth. Second,
I'll second.
Mrs. Mazzarella. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? No discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain. So 501. That one's approved. And number 4, $100 general fund calendar house overtime. We have a
Vote on
motion.
this one.
Motion to
I can
approve.
vote it.
Motion to approve, a second for the $100.
Second.
Mrs. Mazzarella, second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions?
No, he's voted.
No,
on
no,
that.
I'm okay
You
on
could
that.
vote on that one,
Why can you vote on that one?
because that's overtime.
Oh, okay.
Okay, nothing to do with the bus.
Yeah.
All right, number 5, contingency transfer. Here comes the 70,000 we talked about from our contingency. 70,000 general fund, town attorney and legal fees.
After you make your motion, Mr. Chairman, make a
Sure.
comment too.
We have a motion
I'll
on
make a
it.
motion then.
Motion, Mr. Pocock, seconded.
I'll second that.
Second, Mr. Bedoyan. Discussion.
Okay, briefly, I'll give you a synopsis. All of you know it, but I'll give you a synopsis anyway. Back in the spring, the town of Southington went out for an RFP for ambulance services. We received 2 responses, one from AMR and one from HHC, Hunter's Ambulance. Committee, as well as the town council, was looking for 3 full-time ambulances for the town of Southington. One company, HHC, offered that one. The ambulance committee recommended to the town council unanimously, and the town council approved unanimously HHC. In the process, this isn't like a normal vendor contract. You need to get the State Department of Health's permission before you change what's called the PSAP, which is the license that the ambulance carrier holds for the town of Southington. That being said, it's a hearing that has to take place. And even though HHC would provide what we consider superior service for, in essence, if you do apples to apples, if you use AMRs versus HHC, it's a $2.6 million difference over a 3-year period. One would give us three ambulances for no cost, and the other would give us 3 ambulances for $2.6 million over a 3-year period. That being said, it's not an automatic. You have to go to the state. So therefore, we had to hire special counsel. We hired a consultant to get us through the whole process, and this thing is not going to be inexpensive. So therefore, we've already had 1 day's worth of hearing, numerous documents that were requested from both sides. So our attorneys are putting in quite a bit of time on it. This is step 1. We have another hearing scheduled for next week and another scheduled, I believe, for December. We're hoping it's over by December when a decision comes, when it comes. But I expect that this is going to be one of possibly 2 more appropriations I'm going to need for this. That being said, as your chief administrator, it is money well spent to get the contract we think is best interest for the town of Southington, and therefore, obviously, if they have the right, and AMR has the right to challenge it, and that's what they're doing, and it's not cheap.
So right now, we have 2 ambulances, full-time plus 8 hours, right?
Correct.
And we'll go to 3 ambulances 24/7.
Assuming the state of Connecticut approves of the
For
contract.
a 0 cost to us, and the other one is a 2.8 million,
2.6.
2.6 million cost to us for equal services.
Correct.
So if we have to pay $200,000 to save $2 million,
My thoughts exactly.
not a bad
Yeah, it's a good-
return
That's
on
good
your.
It's kind of sad we got to go through the bureaucracy,
Well, and
but it is what
I'm
it
not,
is.
I'm not going to give my narrative on the process that Southington has to go through, because I could be here and I'll probably lose my job by giving my opinion on that. But the bottom line is that it is a very difficult process for something that I think is something that Southington could make its own mind out without need any other help. So.
Okay. Okay, so we'll go with a roll call vote on that, just to make sure we know where everybody stands. So we have a motion, we have a second. Let's do a roll call vote, and that's our last one.
Mr. Bodwin,
Yes.
Mr. Lebenik,
Yes.
Ms. Mazzarella,
Yes.
Mr. Polcock, too,
Yes.
Mr. Stanforth,
Yes.
Chair Larry.
Yes. All right, that
6-0
carries.
unanimous.
6-0 unanimous. There's nothing else. The only thing I want to do is change the stationery to reflect Mrs. Mazzarella and Mr.
Mr. Schroeder-
Stanforth.
Mr. Schott already pointed that out to me, but yes.
Okay. So our stationery will get updated. We'll have our secretary check on that.
I do have my new sign.
You do it. You have a fancier sign. You're more expensive. They're charged by the letter. You guys have more expensive signs. Okay, it is now 7:45. We'll look for our favorite motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Motion is second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Okay, our meeting adjourns at 7:45. Thank you all. Thank you especially Mr. Stanforth, Mrs. Mazzarella, for your first meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Nice having you aboard.
And thank you, audience.